Hi, today we're going to finish the book, Sara Pennypacker, Waylon Even More Awesome, Chapter 12. Science! Waylon growled Monday morning in the pit. Humor! Charlie growled back and then left. What was that all about? Baxter asked, coming in. Waylon took the Cosmo Quest out of his backpack and handed over. It's a comic book Charlie and I were working on. Until Charlie wrecked it. Baxter opened the booklet. He flipped through a few pages, chuckling. He laughed out loud. It's good, he said. So what's wrong? What's wrong is Charlie changed the science when he puts in the jokes. It's ruined. Baxter looked at the comic again. But without these jokes, it's just a guy stepping onto a planet. Technically, Pluto hasn't been considered a planet since 2006, Waylon corrected him. It's a dwarf. I don't care, Baxter interrupted. Without those jokes, you might as well call it Cosmos Snooze. Fine, Waylon grumbled. I'll put in some jokes myself. I'm not going to let Charlie touch it again. Well, can you be funny? Baxter asked. Of course. How about this? Two atoms are walking down the street. One says, uh-oh, I think I lost an electron. The second atom says, are you sure? And the first atom says, I'm positive. Baxter looked at Waylon blankly. The bell rang. Baxter still stared. That's funny, Waylon explained. When an atom loses electron, it becomes positive. So, what do you think? I think you should demonstrate the ability to work on a team with people of various backgrounds, belief, and opinions, Baxter said. You need to respect the different and unique skills of Charlie, because you're not funny. The second bell rang, and Mrs. Fernman herded them into the classroom. Waylon took his seat. Of course he was funny. Maybe that hadn't been his best joke, but he had lots of others. Anyway, he wasn't going to let the Cosmo Quest ruin this day. Later this afternoon, he and Baxter were going to Spring Dumpster Eddie for the final time. They were going to own a dog. Not just any dog, but the best dog in the world. The clock always tortured Waylon on days when he was waiting to see Eddie, but this morning was worse than ever. The second hand dragged as though it was slogging through tar. The minute hand moved like a centipede with concrete shoes, and the hour hand seemed nailed in place. Time, Einstein had explained, was relative, but he had been talking about factors like distance and velocity. Like this phenomenon, Waylon thought, was something else. When Mrs. Furman turned her back, Waylon drew out his notebook. Harness dog love powers to slow time, he wrote. Finally, the minute hand gave its last lurch to noon, and 29 kids clattered up and into the lunch line. Waylon bumped his way toward the back. Okay, get this, he said when he got to Baxter. Baxter, what do you call the planet that's off its orbit? Just then, Principal Rice came to the door. She crooked her finger at Baxter. He threw up his hands, but he followed her out. In the lunchroom, Waylon dropped his tray next to Clementine's. Do you think I'm funny? He asked. You? Funny? Clementine repeated. No, but don't worry. You're interesting. That's good too. So, did you buy one? A heating pad for that dog? Waylon slumped onto the lunch table. He felt his cheek bond to decades of apple juice and meatloaf crust. But he didn't care. It was supposed to get really cold tonight. No, he admitted. It cost $25. We're going to save our allowances. Maybe in a month. He sat up. It's the only thing we don't have. And we got him everything else. He watched as Clementine sucked her straw into the milk and blew a bubble storm. Poor dog, she said at last, shaking her head. That's a long, cold time. When pushed away his tray. None of the food on his plate was going to make it past the lump that had grown in his throat. Baxter's final police test was right after school Monday afternoon. He met Waylon at the dog loo afterward, grinning. You passed? Waylon asked. Aced every section. I'm getting my certificate Wednesday afternoon in a ceremony. He pulled a can opener from his backpack and placed it beside his case of food. Then he filled the water dish from his thermos. Waylon pushed the laundry basket bed onto the far edge. I read that dogs like to feel protected when they sleep, he explained. He fluffed up the old blanket he'd brought over the bed, then laid his final beagle pajamas on top. And I cut up a belt for a collar. It's in my pocket. Baxter scooped out a nightshade in a wall and wedged the flashlight in so it shone down over everything they'd done. All we need now is the license, he said. Let's go. Just as they crawled out, they saw a pair of green boots in the tunnel entrance. It was Clementine. She unzipped her jacket, pulled out the yellow striped stroller bag, and held it out over both of her palms. One looked up, puzzled. Only at night, Clementine growled. My mom only takes Summer out in the afternoons, so I'll leave it outside every night. See? There? She aimed at a shoulder at her building. That's the basement floor. Put it back every morning before school. Okay, thanks. Waylon reached for the pad, but Clementine yanked it back. And it better be clean. Put something over it so it's not all fleas and dog hair. Okay, I promise. Waylon reached again. But again, Clementine pulled it back. And it's only until you can buy your own. So hurry up with getting the money. Right, we will, Baxter promised. And one last thing. You can never tell anyone. We won't. I mean it. Blood swear. Waylon said okay to blood swearing, although he didn't know what it meant. But finally, Clementine handed over the heating pad, warm in his hands. He can imagine Eddie curling up on it with a smile on his dog face. How come you're done doing this for us? He asked. Clementine shook her head. I'm not doing it for you. Then how come? Waylon was shocked at what happened next. Clementine's chin started to quake, and her eyes filled with tears. He knew that everybody cried from The Science of Being a Human, Chapter 7. People plummeting, but she'd never seen it happen to Clementine, not even when Mrs. Fernman sent her to do principal's office for something she didn't do. She wet her face and looked down the alley. Last winter, my kitten got lost, he said in a wavery voice. I worried. Excuse me. I worried all the time that he was cold, and I didn't want to have to worry the same thing about your dog. Then she spun around and stopped back to her building. Waylon dove into the igloo before Clementine could change her mind. He took the pad under the blanket, smoothed it out. Then he spread his pajamas over the top again. He sat back on his heels. Everything was ready now. He backed outside and stood next to Baxter. Wait for a minute. They both just took it all in. Oat, Waylon said after a while. What? Baxter asked. Waylon hadn't realized he'd spoken out loud. Oat, he said. When I was little, I made up this game called Oat. What awesome thing. One awesome thing. I made everyone say one awesome thing about the day. This dog loo is my oat day. Baxter reached out a smooth, the already smooth wall and smiled. Yep. I still think something's missing. But this one awesome thing, alright, he agreed. There's a second part to oat. Waylon went on. I used to make everyone say, and tomorrow's going to be even more awesome every time. And tomorrow is going to be even more awesome. And it's going to be the best day of my life. Right, Baxter agreed again. Tomorrow, we'll have him all day. But from the minute we wake up, for good. He turned toward the alley. Let's go make this happen. End of chapter 12.